Infancy. Every human life begins the same way. With a loud cry, a newborn announces itself to the world, not with logic or language, but with raw instinct. The sound is pure, unfiltered self-expression. Tragically, for most people, this is the only moment they ever get to be fully authentic. Because almost immediately the conditioning begins. The quiet baby is praised as precious, while the loud, expressive baby is called difficult, even troublesome. Parents start rewarding you for good, when good really means convenient for them, and eventually for the system. And so you learn early what society demands of you. Love is conditional, approval is earned. And the way to earn it is not through individuality or spontaneity, but through obedience. Obedience to the rules. The rules designed not for your flourishing, but for control, like sheep following the shepherd. This is just the beginning of the greatest lie of modern society. A lie that leaves you broken, depressed, and disinterested. At the end of this journey, you will understand just how deep this conditioning goes, and maybe, just maybe, you'll finally learn how to break free. As a child, the rules are simple. You do as you're told. Eat your vegetables, clean your room, don't talk back. The stakes seem small, but beneath them lies something much bigger, the wiring of your mind. Every pat on the head when you behave and every disappointed glance when you don't slowly teaches you a dangerous idea that your worth is tied to how well you perform within the boundaries that have been set for you. Try to defend yourself and you're told not to speak back at elders, to trust and obey and just do as you're told. You're punished for things that you don't understand. In your mind, you're expressing your creativity by drawing on the white walls of your mom's kitchen. And in reality, there's nothing inherently wrong with a wall stained with the writings of a curious child. But your mom is worried the other parents will judge her for not being able to control her kid. So she punishes you. And the lesson that you learn is that self-expression leads to harm. So you stop drawing altogether to protect yourself. You conform. And you're rewarded for it. Thanks for being a good boy and listening to Mummy, she says. What she really means is, thanks for doing as you're told, that's more important than being who you really are. This isn't parenting gone wrong. It's parenting as disguised by a culture that values order over freedom, conformity over individuality, and the needs of the many over the desires of the few. This is society training you to be an obedient child, because an obedient child grows up to be an obedient adult. And that's exactly what society needs from you, to keep its machines running smoothly. Then comes school. And here, the indoctrination is no longer subtle, it's direct. The same idea will be drilled into your mind almost every single day. For the next 12 years, you'll spend around half of your waking hours being shaped into a tool for the use of society. You're told you're being educated, that this is where your mind expands, where you learn how to think. But the structure tells a different story. Almost the opposite story. Raise your hand before you speak. Ask permission to go to the bathroom. Wait for the bell before you can eat. Every instinct is put on a leash. Every impulse must be regulated by an external authority. This isn't education, it's conditioning. What you're learning isn't math, history, or grammar. It's how to be a cog in a larger machine, and that the needs of the machine must always come first. Think about what we reward in school. Memorization over creativity. Compliance over curiosity. Collaboration is punished as cheating. Expressing yourself outside the rules is labeled as disruptive. Even the dress codes, uniforms, or strict clothing policies send a clear signal. Individuality is a crime and you will be severely punished. The goal is to create a completely homogeneous group. There are no two people that are distinct from one another and everyone becomes interchangeable, like spare parts of one giant machine. By the time you finish your formative years, you've spent thousands of hours rehearsing obedience. Bell conditions you like Pavlov's dog. The classroom trains you to equate external validation with success, and perhaps most devastating of all, you begin to equate silence and conformity with safety. By middle school and high school, the stakes get even higher. It's no longer just teachers and parents reinforcing the system, it's your peers. Like crabs stuck in a bucket, the people at the bottom of the trap can't bear to watch anyone get out. So they grab and grab until they make sure that they drag you back to the bottom, into the abyss, and that's just normal. As a teen, your greatest fear is not fitting in. Oh boy. You learn that being different means isolation. So everything about you, your clothes, music, hobbies, even the way that you speak, all of it is policed by this invisible hand of normalcy. You're completely stripped of everything that makes you you, and are instead just another one in the crowd, an identical piece of the jigsaw puzzle. Meanwhile, the external rewards become even more tied to conformity. Grades become your currency. Your GPA becomes shorthand for your value. College admissions become the gatekeepers of your future. And what's worse is that all of this is presented to you as freedom. They tell you that you get to choose who you'll become, but the choices are rigged. You must pick the option that makes you the most useful to the machine, whether that's a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer. Try to make a choice that's better for you and you will be shut down, told that you're going to waste your life, when in reality the only wasted life is the one where you never get to live the way that you truly want. And when you reach college, the illusion deepens. This is marketed as the time of exploration, the place where you finally decide who you are and who you want to be. But the choices are so carefully curated. Your major is not an expression of your soul, never is, never will be. It's a marketed calculation. Will this degree make you employable? Will it make you valuable in the eyes of the system? You're forced to do something that benefits the system more than it benefits your being. And if you fail, the system takes no responsibility. It's always your fault. You didn't work hard enough, you didn't network well, you didn't do all that was required of you. The myth of meritocracy keeps the blame squarely on your shoulders, forgetting that if a monkey and a fish are given a test to find the best swimmer, the monkey is not a failure for losing. The test is. This is one of the most sophisticated forms of control, convincing people that their unhappiness is their fault, that the system is flawless and you are flawed. By the time you leave college, you've internalized the script so deeply that you don't need teachers or parents to keep you in line. You self-police. You silence your own instincts. You dismiss your own dreams. This is what sociologist Erich Fromm warned about. A society so effective at conditioning that people willingly submit to systems of control, all the while believing that they're free. And then finally comes the great reveal. Work. Ugh. All those years of obedience, of memorizing, of normalizing, it was all training for this. The 40-hour work week, the 9 to 5, the 40 years of labor traded for the illusion of stability. This is where the greatest lie fully blooms. That your value as a human being is measured by your productivity. That your identity is not who you are, but what you do for a living. Every introduction begins with the question, who are you? It's always followed with name plus profession. Not what makes you come alive, not your hobbies, your goals, or your dreams, just what job title you have, so the other person can use it to determine your worth. When the inevitable dissatisfaction creeps in, when the small voice in the back of your mind whispers, God, this cannot be all of it, can it? The system has an answer waiting: consumerism. Consumerism is the perfection of slavery, the perfection of the lie that you have been told. Because it convinces you that happiness is not something you already have, but it's something that you can and must purchase. As a child, control was simple. Bells told you when to move. Teachers told you when to speak. Parents told you who to be. The authority was external, obvious, and rigid. But the system knows that once you're an adult, those methods won't work anymore. Nobody can ring a bell and force you to shuffle between classrooms. No one can give you detention for speaking out of turn. So that strategy changes. Instead of raw obedience, you're offered desire. Instead of punishment, you're offered pleasure. Instead of control through force, you're controlled through longing. If the system can convince you that purchasing is the path to fulfillment, then you don't need to be forced to comply. You'll comply willingly, because every time you feel that ache of emptiness, every time that quiet voice in your head starts to ask questions, you'll run off to the store or the website or that endless scroll to silence it. The treadmill is elegant in its simplicity. To buy, you must earn. To earn, you must work. And to work, you must stay plugged into the very system that makes you unhappy in the first place. This is how slavery perfects itself. Not with chains, but with credit cards. Not with overseers, but with influencers. Not with threats, but with advertising so omnipresent that it feels like the air you breathe. The products don't even matter. It could be a new phone, a vacation package, a wardrobe refresh, or the curated image of your life posted online. What matters is the cycle. The promise that happiness is just one purchase away, just one raise away, just one new thing away. And so the lie continues. You mistake stimulation for satisfaction. You mistake consumption for identity. You mistake distraction for freedom. But the truth is, the more you consume, the more entangled you become. Every purchase ties you deeper into the system that sold you that illusion in the first place. And now, it is much worse. Because you don't even own anything anymore. You're constantly renting it all. Your music, movies, video games, every single digital product can be instantly switched off by the giant corporations pulling the strings behind the scenes. If you stop and really look around, you might realize the truth. You're not living your life. You're renting it out to a system that only sees you as a resource. But these escapes are not true freedom. They're pressure valves designed to keep the machine running. You're given just enough relief to keep going, but never enough space to truly break free. Think about it. Your vacations are approved by the very system that you are trying to escape from. Your leisure is scheduled, your relaxation monetized. Even your supposed self-expression, your hobbies, your social media presence gets pulled back into the cycle as data to be sold as trends to be commodified. The illusion of escape is just another tool of control, because if they can convince you that you're free, you'll stop looking for real freedom. And here's where modern society has perfected the lie. In earlier generations, control was maintained through overt authority. Bosses, governments, religious institutions. You knew who the oppressor was, and you could point to them directly. Today, the system doesn't even need to lift a finger. It lets algorithms do the work. Social media tells you that this is where you can finally be yourself, that this is the digital stage of pure self-expression. But the truth is darker. Algorithms are not designed to reveal your authentic self. They're designed to keep you hooked, to amplify whatever keeps you scrolling, clicking, and consuming. And oftentimes, that's what gets you riled up and emotional, not who you truly are. And at first, it feels harmless. A recommendation here, a suggestion there. But over time, something deeper takes shape. Algorithms don't just influence your choices, they reshape your desires. They don't just predict what you like, they manufacture what you like. They collapse the infinite possibilities of who you could be into a narrow loop of what keeps the machine running. And in that process, your identity becomes blurred. Your attention, once a tool for exploration and meaning, is fractured into infinite pieces. Your sense of self is eroded until you can't tell what you really want anymore or who you even are. The result is a life written in vanishing ink. Posts, likes, stories, reels, fleeting bursts of stimulation that disappear almost as quickly as they arrive. You chase validation that evaporates the moment it's received. And when the screen goes dark, you're left with a hollow question. Does any of this even matter? That's when the apathy takes root. You begin to believe nothing matters, that nothing is worth fighting for, because everything dissolves into the endless scroll. This is the final stage of conditioning, when you are broken down so completely that you rebuild yourself in the system's image. You don't need authority figures to silence you anymore. You silence yourself. You censor your own thoughts before they're even spoken. You dismiss your own dreams before they're even formed. You become your own prison guard. And the brilliance, if you want to call it that, is that you think you're doing it freely. You think you're being just realistic, just going with the flow, just living in the modern world. But in reality, you've internalized the lie so deeply that you no longer see it as a lie at all. This is the perfect citizen, the perfect worker, the perfect consumer. Someone who willingly sacrifices their own individuality, all while believing they're exercising free will. But perhaps the cruelest trick comes later, when society tells you that all this waiting, all this sacrifice will, one day, pay off. The reward is called retirement. Work hard for 4 decades and one day you'll finally be free. That's the promise. But it's a promise built on sinking sand. This is one that the younger generation is slowly starting to realize is an illusion. The modern idea of retirement wasn't designed as a gift. It was an economic policy. Otto von Bismarck introduced retirement in the 1880s, not to liberate people, but to clear the workforce of the elderly and make room for younger labor. What was sold as compassion was, in truth, just efficiency. And for most people, retirement doesn't feel like freedom, it feels like collapse. Psychologists call it identity foreclosure. When your entire sense of self is built on your job, the moment you step away, you lose the foundation of who you are. That's why rates of depression among retirees spike dramatically. Without the structure of work, many discover that they have no inner life to fall back on, no self beyond the cog they once were. Alan Watts compared it to a donkey chasing a carrot on a stick. You spend your life chasing the promise of future happiness, only to discover that the carrot was never meant to be caught, and that you've spent your life chasing a destination when the destination was the entire journey that you just missed. And then comes the end. After decades of obedience, of conformity, of waiting, you finally confront the one thing society can't disguise or delay: death. But even here, the lie continues. Society tells you to measure your life by external markers, what job you had, what possessions you owned, what milestones you checked off, not whether you truly lived. The tragedy is that for many, death arrives before life ever does. They waited for retirement, they waited for the weekend, they waited for the future, and when the end came, they realized they had been waiting their entire lives. The system worked exactly as designed. It kept them docile, productive, and waiting right up until the very last breath. But if you're watching this, chances are that you are still alive. I think the science checks out. And where there is life, there is hope. That's not just a cliche saying. You can choose to take back your life today, to break out of the mold society has forced you to fit in, and to live a life that you will be proud of when your own last day comes. But let me tell you, freedom does not come easy. It can be a long and grueling process filled with more sadness than happiness, but at the end is pure joy. The incredible feeling of a life well lived, of a time well savored, of an experience that many unfortunately never get to experience. So what do we do? If the script of modern society is a lie, how do we break free? The first step is one that you've already passed, and that's recognizing the lie for what it is. Understanding that the script is not inevitable, that the normal that you've been taught to chase is a manufactured standard designed to control you. Freedom isn't something you find at the end of a script. It's not a prize waiting in retirement. It's not a product you can buy or a status that you can achieve. Freedom is available only in the present, in the choices that you are making right now. Alan Watts put it beautifully. Life is not a journey to a destination. It's like music or dance. The point isn't to get to the end, but to play, to move, to live fully in every moment. Breaking free doesn't mean quitting your job tomorrow or running off into the woods. The system is far too deeply interwoven into modern life for most people to simply walk away. But freedom has never been about geography. It's about mindset. To break free is to reclaim your mind, your time, and your sense of self, piece by piece. The first step is to redefine success. You've been told that your worth comes from productivity, possessions, and status symbols. But what if success was something else entirely? What if it was measured by how deeply that you live each day? By how present you are with the people that you love? By how true you are to yourself, even when the world demands that you conform? Redefining success means stepping off the treadmill of comparison and returning to a more human measure: joy, connection, and authenticity. The second step is to cultivate presence. Society trains you to overlook the present moment, to constantly postpone life for later. But freedom begins in the now, in the laughter shared with a friend, in the feeling of the sun on your skin, in the smallest details of life that money cannot buy and algorithms cannot replicate. Mindfulness, gratitude, meditation, or simply pausing to breathe. These aren't luxuries, they're acts of rebellion. Because every moment that you spend fully present is a moment the system cannot steal from you. Next, you must learn to choose consciously. The lie of modern society is that you have no choice, that you must do what everyone else does. But the truth is, every small action is a choice. How you spend your time, how you earn, how you consume, and how you connect. Before you act, pause and just ask yourself, am I doing this because it makes me feel alive, or because I've been told that I should? The system thrives on unexamined habits. Break the cycle by questioning them. Conscious choice is the beginning of true autonomy. And finally, You must embrace uncertainty, as society promises safety and security, but that is a false promise. Nassim Nicholas Taleb reminds us that there is no ultimate security in life. Chasing it is a trap, an endless cycle of ensuring, saving, and preparing for futures that may never come. The alternative is not recklessness, but resilience, cultivating flexibility, adaptability, and the courage to live without guarantees. Real freedom lies in learning to dance with uncertainty and not hide from it. None of these steps are dramatic. They don't require walking away from society or burning it all down. They're not grand gestures, but small acts of rebellion. Choosing to live by your own values instead of a machine's. Choosing to find joy in moments that cannot be monetized. Choosing to define your life not by what you produce, but by how deeply you live it. Piece by piece, these small rebellions reclaim the one thing the system can never truly control: your awareness, your presence, and your choice. And once you see that clearly, the lie begins to lose its power. The greatest lie you've been told is that your life belongs to the system, that you are a cog in the machine. The truth is simpler and far more powerful. Freedom is not something you wait for. It's something you claim right now. It's how you choose to live in this moment, right here, right now, this second. The system may own your labor. It may own your time. It may even own your body. But it can never own your mind unless you choose to give it away. And that means the power to break free has always been yours. Start today. Start right now. Because tomorrow, it might be too late.